Welcome to Stick to Sports. I'm Zach Malamud.
And I'm Joey Pulatsky. Today, Scheffler takes home the Masters, the Lakers fire Frank Vogel, and the MLB season is officially underway.
Roll it. American Scottie Scheffler won his first green jacket on Sunday at the 2022 Masters. Scheffler was on a tear on Thursday and Friday, bringing a 5-stroke lead into Saturday. The 25-year-old finished 10 under par for the tournament. Joey, what was your takeaway from Masters weekend?
Zach, my two biggest takeaways from Masters weekend is Scottie Scheffler is going to be around for a while. He's not a guy that just made a late weekend comeback. He was dominant really the entire way. He was unbelievable. 26-year-old from New Jersey, going to have a very promising future in the sport of golf. And also Rory McIlroy still hanging around. He really hasn't been too relevant in the grand scheme of golf since about 2014, 2015. Came back, had an unbelievable weekend. He might start making a comeback in these next few events over the summer.
I agree with you. Those are two big takeaways. My takeaway is Tiger Woods. And our producer, Ben Diamond, said to me before our show, wasn't he plus 13? Yeah, he was. But it didn't matter because Tiger Woods came back after 14 months ago. He was in a car accident that almost killed him. And one of the greatest comebacks in all of sports, I believe. What a performance for a guy who almost died 14 months ago to come back and put a performance like that at the Masters. He made the first cut as well. That's a huge achievement for Tiger.
Yeah, had some very solid sentiments afterwards as well. And he had some very solid sentiments about just being thankful just to be there. And it was a great comeback story for Tiger, Zach, definitely.
But I'm also looking at your takeaway, and it was Rory McIlroy. And it just kind of showed how good Scottie Scheffler was, because Rory McIlroy went on an absolute tear and was 8 under par, I believe, on the last day, Sunday. But Scottie Scheffler was still 4 strokes ahead of him when he ended.
It was an unbelievable 4 days from Scheffler. He got the gap and he stayed ahead. The New York Yankees took 2 of 3 against the Boston Red Sox down in the Bronx over the weekend. The Bronx Bombers mashed 5 total home runs in the opening series, featuring 2 apiece from Anthony Rizzo and the Brian Rudman and Brian Burrows killer, Giancarlo Stanton. Zach, while there was plenty of good and bad for both teams in the opening series, what were your main takeaways for these two AL East rivals?
2 takeaways for the Yankees. The bullpen was absolutely fantastic. And the other one, the bottom of the lineup was surprisingly solid. Seeing those faces, those new faces, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and even Trevino came in, and even Higashioka had an impact. All of those guys, 6 through 9, did their job and did what they needed to, had a solid impact, but the bullpen was the biggest story for me. The Yankees let up early runs, and the starting pitching wasn't great. But then the bullpen came in and really just shut things down. The one thing with the Red Sox, the big takeaway was their lineup was great early, and they're going to have to hold their breath on their pitching this season.
Yeah, obviously it's opening weekend, so the bullpen is still fresh. We'll see how they look come July, August when we really get to the dog days. Garrett Cole not being great against the Red Sox still scares me, but to be able to come back and win that game, it seems like it's still going to be the same old Yankees. It's going to be either guys left on base rolling into double plays, or going to be 440-foot bombs. This is a very exciting team when they're on, but when they're off, it's scary. It's a long season, but man, were those first 2 openings, was Friday and Saturday night a real fun time to be a Yankees fan.
The New York Mets started their season strong, taking 3 games in a 4-game set against the Washington Nationals. The Mets took the first 3 games of the series by a combined score of 17-4 before a 4-2 loss yesterday. New York continue their road trip with a 3-game set against the Philadelphia Phillies starting tonight. Joey, what's the ceiling for the Mets this year?
Zach, I actually have the Mets behind the Phillies in the NL East this year, but I think the Mets are going to be such a great team. Obviously, when you have Pete Alonso in that lineup and his Grand Slam over the weekend, it's such an ideal start. But then again, it also was the New York Mets, right? If you play baseball in New York, injuries are always going to hover around. So we're just going to see, it really just kind of feels like a battle of how many guys are going to get injured, for how long, when. I mean, starting the season without DeGrom, Scherzer being a little knacked up. But I mean, McGill stepping up, Ottavino slamming the door, as you see there, out of the bullpen, who's had some trouble in the past. I think the Mets are probably going to finish second or third in the NL East this year, but definitely a promising start for the team out of Queens.
Yeah, I think in the division, the ceiling is probably a wild card spot behind one of those teams, the Braves, the Phillies, whoever it is. But it's the Nationals. We can't get too excited just yet. And with DeGrom out and to still be able to probably make it into a wild card spot would be pretty good. And DeGrom may come back this season. We'll see what happens. But with all those injuries, it was a pretty good opening series, but watch out. It's the Nationals. Don't get too excited.
Yeah, the NL East and the AL East are both very open divisions this year. Frank Vogel is out as the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers after a 33-49 season, which is being talked about as one of the most disappointing seasons of all time. Vogel helped lead the Lakers to a championship in 2020, but 2 underwhelming seasons followed it, and now the 48-year-old will search for his 4th NBA head coaching job. Zach, is Vogel entirely at fault for the Lakers' mishaps this season, or do you believe the attention is being put in the wrong spot?
It's not Frank Vogel's fault. And some people might say he shouldn't have been fired. I think he should be fired just based on, I think it was the right decision, just based on you kind of need a new face. And he's been there for a couple years. Yes, he won an NBA championship, but that was during a COVID era. Some people don't even really, might put an asterisk next to it just based on there was a lot of things going on. But this team was 6-18 after the All-Star break. Paul George played 31 games this season for the Clippers. Kawhi played 0. They're in the play-in game. And LeBron averaged 30, and they didn't make the playoffs. That's completely disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, it seems weird with the NBA playoffs obviously right around the corner, still kind of waiting for this team to mesh between Anthony Davis, LeBron, and Russ Westbrook. They really seem like they just never hit their stride. This three-headed monster just never really quite came together. There's plenty of injuries for AD and LeBron along the way. But at the end of the day, the depth just really wasn't quite there. Like you said, the Clippers, with Paul George and Kawhi out for extended time, they had other guys they could turn to when those 2 big guys went down. When AD and LeBron were out, really weren't a whole lot of guys stepping up for the Lakers.
We're going to take a quick break here on Stick to Sports. Up next, we take a look at more series in the MLB and the play-in tournament in the NBA. Stay tuned on WTOP 10.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
Our son Arjun was born with cystic fibrosis. CF is a genetic disease that shortens lives. When the foundation was founded in 1955, children with CF rarely lived long enough to attend kindergarten. Today, thanks to the foundation's groundbreaking research, advocacy, and care, some people with CF are attending college, getting married, and starting families. We've made amazing progress, but until a cure is found for all people with CF, we will not stop. Help us add tomorrows. Visit cff.org today.
Is there a danger hiding in your home? Unused opioid medicines could harm your family. Find your unused opioid pills, patches, or syrups and learn how to dispose of them safely at fda.gov/drug disposal.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. That's some new music. I like it. The World Series favorite Los Angeles Dodgers lost 2 games of a 3-game set in Colorado this weekend. The Dodgers struggled on the mound, letting up 15 runs in the series while the bats were quiet. 6 players had 10 or more at-bats, and not one of them bat over 235. Joey, it's way too early, but is this worrying for the Dodgers?
It's got to be maybe just a little bit worrying, just in terms of that 10 of their 11 runs in this series came in the first 5 innings. That they really struggled against this Rockies bullpen, and we all know how the Colorado Rockies are pitching-wise and out in Colorado at Coors Field as well. Pitching isn't their strong suit by any means. Obviously, like you said, it is still very early. There's plenty of season left. We know that the Dodgers are still going to be World Series favorites despite this early struggle against the Colorado Rockies, but just in terms of playing a full 9 innings and being able to mash for all 9 innings instead of just that first 4 or 5 is going to be key for this Dodgers team down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm a little worried right now. And 6 players had 10 or more at-bats, I said it before, and not one of them batted over 235. Those 6 players, Betts, Justin Turner, Trey Turner, Muncy, Freeman, and Bellinger. That's their best players. And Urias looked pretty bad. I get it, it's early, but I don't know how you could be too optimistic against a Rockies team that's really struggled in recent years. The Cincinnati Reds split their opening series on the road against the defending world champion Atlanta Braves. The Reds outscored the Braves 19-15 while hitting just 2 home runs in the series. For Atlanta, Matt Olson managed to hit .571 in 4 games with 8 hits and just 3 strikeouts. Joey, a little surprising, the Reds stole 2 games. What went wrong for the Braves?
I mean, first off, to start on the positive side, if you're a Braves fan, you got to be real happy with Matt Olson and how he's been filling the shoes of Freddie Freeman just through these first few games. Obviously, massive shoes to fill, but it kind of seems like, at least in my book, heading into the season, between the Ronald Acuna Jr. and Freddie Freeman stuff about whatever was said on that Instagram Live about their relationship, just seemed to cause a bit of a distraction. And every other team in the league has all sights set on opening day except the Atlanta Braves, who obviously were kind of dealing with a little bit of off-the-field problems before. So I think the Braves really just got kind of caught off guard, and it doesn't help they had to go up against Hunter Green in the series as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the problem was pitching. And in 3 games, starting pitchers alone let up a combined 12 earned runs for the Braves. This is a team that really kept most of the same pitching staff than they had when they were world champions last year. Even Kenley Jansen, who they added from the Dodgers, he let up 3 runs in just 1 inning. But Joey, we went through a number of series from this weekend, but is there any team that really caught your eye in the MLB?
No one really blew me away too much, Zach, but as I'm going to say this as unbiased as I can, just looking through all the scores this weekend, the one team that I thought genuinely impressed me the most is the New York Yankees. As biased as that will sound, between Giancarlo Stanton getting going early with 2 home runs, Rizzo getting going with 2 home runs, the bullpen just avenging, not really avenging, but coming off that AL wildcard loss against the Boston Red Sox, this team impressed me so much this opening weekend. My standards are kind of down after walking out of Fenway Park last October in that loss. But I was blown away by what this team did this weekend. And in all honesty, the New York Yankees impressed me the most this weekend. I'm not ashamed to say it.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to go with the Chicago Cubs because the Cubs beat a really good Brewers team that's been around the playoffs the last 3 or 4 years. 2 one-run games and a 9-0 Cubs win in this series. The pitching is scary. Hendricks, Stroman, Steele, and some of the guys in the lineup were unbelievable. Ian Happ, a .714 average. Jason Hayward, a .375 average. The Cubs impressed me.
Good numbers to be at for sure. In a game that nobody predicted before the season, the Brooklyn Nets will host the Cleveland Cavaliers tomorrow night in the Eastern Conference 7 versus 8 game as a part of the NBA playoff play-in tournament. The Nets find themselves here after a season which saw Kyrie miss a majority of home games due to COVID rules, KD miss a quarter of the season due to a knee sprain, and James Harden get traded mid-season. The Cavaliers bounced back from a 50-loss season just a year ago after adding former Nets big Jarrett Allen, who had an all-star season before being sidelined for extended time with a broken finger. Zach, will Brooklyn get into the first round as expected, or will Cleveland be able to pull off the upset?
I can't go against Brooklyn here, and they're on their home floor. They're just too good with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving when they are healthy. The winner plays Boston, who owned Brooklyn this season. So it's not a great sign for Brooklyn, but I do think that with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant there, yes, Ben Simmons won't be there. Brooklyn's just too good at home.
Yeah, I don't see a world where the Brooklyn Nets lose tomorrow night with Kyrie and KD. Maybe Ben Simmons comes back. Still kind of questionable about that. But it's also up in the air if Jarrett Allen comes back. But with how much time he missed and really just with the roadblocks the Cavaliers hit down the stretch after missing Jarrett Allen, not going to come back at 100%, if at all. I got the Brooklyn Nets tomorrow night, 8.5-point favorites as well in a play-in game. You really don't see that too much. They're the second favorite to come out of the East after the Bucks, third favorite to win the title as well. This Nets team's a very tough draw in the play-in. Now looking to the 7 versus 8 in the West. The Los Angeles Clippers will travel to the Minnesota Timberwolves for the nightcap of tomorrow's doubleheader. Minnesota's offense has dominated this season as their 115.9 points per game leads the NBA. The Clippers will be the lone LA team in the playoffs this year as they've now made 10 of the past 11 postseasons. Zach, who do you have winning this one?
That's pretty insane that the Clippers, 10 of the last 11 postseasons, they're in there. I'm going to go with the Clippers in this one. They are 3-0 with Paul George against Minnesota this season. I know the duo of Edwards and Towns is very dangerous for Minnesota, but Paul George, Reggie Jackson up top, that's just too much for the Timberwolves to handle.
Yeah, I think it's tough with this Clippers team coming in, just obviously with Paul George and Kawhi being back, but now with the Timberwolves going into this postseason, I do love that 116 points per game leading the NBA this year. Give me the Timberwolves tomorrow night. Why not? They say defense wins championship, offense wins play-in games. Let's roll with the Timberwolves tomorrow night. The NBA play-in tournament consists of more than just the 7 versus 8 games. This year's 9 versus 10 games are enticing as well. In the East, LaMelo Ball and the Charlotte Hornets take on Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks. And in the West, it's the Spurs hitting the road to take on the New Orleans Pelicans and their trade deadline star, CJ McCollum. Zach, who do you have winning these win-or-go-home games this weekend?
Well, if you like defense, watch Spurs versus Pelicans. If you like offense, watch Hornets versus Hawks. It's the NBA. I like offense. I like the LaMelo versus Trae matchup better, but I do think the Hawks will take it, and I actually think the Spurs will take it. We'll talk about that a little bit later on my best bets.
Zach, I'm actually going to differ you on both these games, surprisingly enough. I love the LaMelo-Trae Young matchup as well. I think that's by far the matchup to watch, but I'm going to go with the Hornets. I really like how the Hornets are coming together this year. I just want to see LaMelo advance in the playoffs and get him a full 7-game series as well. CJ McCollum and the Pelicans, I just love McCollum and what he did in Portland, and I want to see him advance as well with this New Orleans team. So maybe just rooting for them a little bit, but going to hope they come out as well. We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, Zach will be joined by Ben Diamond. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Stick to Sports right here on WTOP 10.
Driving a truck for 40 years now. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. Like that trucks can't stop quickly. It takes my 80,000-pound truck 200 yards to come to a complete stop. So I always do my best to give a lot of cushion. It helps when other drivers realize that and do the same. Please give trucks the space we need so we can all stay safe. It's our roads. It's our safety.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. It's time for the fast break. Joining me now is Ben Diamond, one of our producers. Ben, what do you have for us tonight?
Thanks, Zach. The Toronto Blue Jays opened up the season with a series at home versus the Texas Rangers. The Blue Jays took the first 2 games of the series before dropping the last one after blowing an early 6-1 lead. but this Blue Jays team has played as advertised. Lots of power. Young star Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit a career-long 467-foot home run at 117 miles per hour. And a player I don't think that gets enough recognition, closer Jordan Romano, completed 2 saves to start the year.
Yeah, this Blue Jays team is the real deal. The lineup is loaded. Vladdy for MVP. I know I said last week on last week's show, Mike Trout's going to win the MVP in the AL. It's probably going to be Vladdy. He started off red hot. Berrios struggled the other day, but this pitching staff, no matter what, it is lethal. And they did a great job against the Rangers team that really challenged them with their lineup. They are going to be the AL East champs, though.
Yeah, once they start to get into the swing of things, I think the Blue Jays will be the ones to take the weight from the division just based on how strong their lineup is. And their pitching is going to get into it. Berrios, that was a fluke, 100%. Gausman gave up a few runs. He'll look better. But the bullpen, to me, can be good, especially with Romano at the back. Now, 26 straight saves with his save tonight versus the Yankees. He has been very good, probably one of the better relievers in the AL.
Yeah, I agree. And Jordan Romano, he's been a beast, and he's going to get a lot of saves for this Blue Jays team this season.
Moving over to the NBA, in their last contest of the 2021-22 season, Knicks sophomore players Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickley gave fans a glimpse at the duo's bright future. On Sunday, Toppin finished the game versus the Toronto Raptors with a career-high 42 points to go with 10 rebounds on 16 for 28 shooting. This comes after he set his previous career high of 35 points on Friday. Quickly impressed with his second triple-double in the last week, posting 34 points with 10 rebounds and 12 assists. The way those two players have played is a good sign for things to come for the Knicks, especially if R.J. Barrett continues to shine as well.
Yeah, as a Knicks fan, I'm sorry to be a downer. And it took Barrett, Randall, and Robinson being out for Obi Toppin to put up 40 points. I mean, I'm sorry. But I do love Emmanuel Quickley. I would have liked Tyrese Halliburton a little bit more than Obi Toppin, to be honest. But good for the Knicks. Somebody please pair with RJ. He needs some help there. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a sign of good things to come. Like, we like what we see. But I feel like this has to make the Knicks front office look more at Randall. Because I feel like the Knicks always play better without Randall. Even RJ was playing better without Randall. So I don't know if we could really say RJ was a factor in them playing poorly. But I feel like Randall is the big factor, and the Knicks front office needs to look more into him when it comes to how the team plays as a whole. Now, moving over to the Western Conference, Dallas Mavericks star Luka Doncic had to leave the team's final game of the regular season versus the San Antonio Spurs. Up 18 points. On a drive to the basket, it looked as though Doncic banged knees with Spurs big man Zach Collins. After the game, the injury was ruled a calf strain. Although the Mavericks were still able to win the game, this is a big blow to the team heading into the playoffs. And although the team says it isn't too serious, you have to be wary of this injury and his readiness to start the playoffs.
Yeah, this one's not good for Luka, and it did not look good. Even at the 4 seed, you can't really say that the Mavs are too much of anything without Luka. That's the guy, and he puts up most of their points on a daily basis. And without him, it just does not look great for Dallas. I'm sure he'll be back because he's tough. He'll be back for the playoffs, but it's not a good sign for Dallas here.
Yeah, he'll for sure be back. They have a week with the play-in game still going on. They're not in the play-in, so they don't have to worry about that. But they still do have to worry about whether or not this is going to be a long-term thing or if he's going to be playing with it when they start to play the Jazz next week. But now you go into the Jazz series and you look at the Jazz who've not played as well as of late. And do you think they could still win? I think they can.
I agree. And we'll take a quick break here on Stick to Sports. Thanks once again to Ben for the fast break. When we come back, Joey and I will go through our best bets and what to watch for. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Stick to Sports on WTOP 10.
A redhead?
Staring contest.
You still got it.
I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
They were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. We're coming off one of my favorite sports weekends in a while, with the Yankees picking up the series win and UFC 273 living up to the hype. I'll be rolling with the best thing I saw today rather than the typical what to watch for, because I'm not really sure if anything this week is going to top UFC 273 from this past weekend. Khamzat Chimaev, who is one of the most uncommon fighters ever, took on number 2 welterweight Gilbert Burns after Chimaev had fought just 4 UFC fights prior. Guys just don't fight top contenders after just 4 UFC fights, nonetheless pick up wins in those fights. Chimaev, real special talent. Aljamain Sterling proved he's the true bantamweight champion and completed a successful return after 13 months out due to a neck injury suffered in his first fight against Petr Yan. I think the judges got this one wrong, as Yan's ground and takedown defense was stellar, but this is definitely not the last these two have seen of each other. Volkanovski made the Korean Zombie look like an amateur in a 4-round demolishing that proved why he's the top 5 pound-for-pound guy on earth. Volk vs. Holloway is an extremely exciting fight in my eyes, as it would feature 2 of the best stand-up games in the UFC. Great UFC card this weekend.
No doubt, great UFC card it was. My what to watch this week is in the NBA, as the Toronto Raptors take on the Philadelphia 76ers in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Game 1 is in Philly on Saturday at 6 o'clock, and this is no easy series for the Sixers. Toronto has been on an absolute fire to end the regular season, as they are 8-2 in their last 10. Most of the pressure in this series is on the Sixers, with Embiid and Harden there to bring home a championship. On top of that, Matisse Thybulle will be out games 3 and 4 in Toronto because he's not fully vaccinated. Gary Trent, Fred VanVleet, and Pascal Siakam have other ideas on this series, defeating the Sixers 3-1 in the regular season series. This series is going to be juicy, and I can't wait for it. Raptors vs. Sixers, Game 1, Saturday, 6 o'clock on ABC. Joey, who you got in this one?
Zach, I think I'm going to go with the Sixers. There's so many guys on both teams, but I don't know how you go against Harden and Embiid. Who do you have?
I would not be shocked if the Raptors won.
I guess we'll see. My best bet comes tomorrow night as the Minnesota Twins take on the Los Angeles Dodgers in the first of their 2-game set out at Target Field. Minnesota's starters struggled as the Twins trailed after 5 innings in 2 of the 3 games, but they hung around because of their bullpen in that opening series. In the final 4 frames of each game, a total of 12 innings, the Twins bullpen allowed just 2 runs. The Dodgers' strength in their opening series was raking early, as 10 of their 11 runs came in the first 4 innings of each game. Chris Archer will keep Minnesota around enough to allow the Twins bullpen to dominate, but the Twins lineup is so deep, they're going to mash Andrew Heaney, who had a 5.8 last year for the Yankees. Gio and Gary are Yankees forever, and they're just going to mash off their ex-teammate in Andrew Heaney and take the Twins' money line bet to the bank tomorrow night.
For my best bet, I'm looking at the NBA play-in tournament with the 9-10 matchups. The San Antonio Spurs are taking on the New Orleans Pelicans in New Orleans on Wednesday. The Spurs are 5-point underdogs in this one, and I really believe they'll cover the spread. San Antonio won both meetings in New Orleans this season by 10-4 and won 3 of the meetings between the teams. DeJounte Murray and Keldon Johnson have been big performers for the Spurs this season, and I see them continuing that against CJ McCollum. I think the Spurs will win outright. However, just to be safe, give me the Spurs at +5 against the Pelicans on Wednesday.
That's all the time we have on this episode of Stick to Sports. Be sure to tune in next week right here on WTOP 10.